Hello, this is Jan from Red Toad Art Studio, and today we're going to do part 2 of our Pumpkin Week series. Part 1 was learning how to draw this pumpkin, and you can download a free instruction sheet from our website that goes step by step on how to draw your pumpkin. I am going to start with the actual drawing we did in our last video, and we're going to finish this off as a pencil drawing. So, this is a tiny version of it that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do. And today I'm actually going to use what we call a 3B pencil. You don't have to use a 3B. You can stick with your HB or your yellow pencil, but I'll guarantee you with this yellow pencil it will be a little more work to blend it. Possible, but not as easy as if you have a B pencil, 3B, 4B, 5B. Think of B's meaning blending or bold. They're darker and easier to blend. So I'm going to use my 3B pencil today. You'll need an eraser most likely, and I like to have my little brush to brush my eraser crumbs. And you'll need one more thing. You will need what we call a blending stump. You can buy these. Oh, I bought mine at Walmart or on Amazon, art stores. You can buy these several places, and these are wonderful. If you don't have one on hand, you can wrap a tissue around your finger and also blend. But this is easier and better if you can come up with one of these. So, let's begin our drawing. I want to shadow the area right inside the lines of this pumpkin segment. And we're going to work in small circles. Small circular strokes will get you a nice smooth pencil stroke. Just see how we're working down here along the edge. Now you need to have some patience when you get into finishing these pictures if you want to make nice artwork. Just take your time. You know, if we're doing this, we like to draw anyway, so let's just enjoy the experience and not be in a hurry to get the picture finished, although I understand this feeling of wanting to see what our finished picture will look like. But it will look better if we take our time. So I'm going to continue on up and around this area. Okay, I finished that edge. Now I have brought this lower edge up just a little bit more than it is up here because it's going to be shadowed. If we have light coming from above, there will be a shadow down on the bottom part of your pumpkin. Now, the next step is to come along on now this new edge and soften it. Lightly come around with another edge of your pencil lines, but very, well, much lighter. And come across this heavy edge. We're trying to blend and not have real sharp lines in our blending. Do you see how that kind of fades in? And we want to do that all the way around. Light, circular strokes. There we go. And notice how I went lightly across those lines so they're not too harsh. Just like that. Now we're going to do some magic. Take your blending stump. See, I've used that quite a bit. And if it gets so dirty that you can't use it, take a nail file or a piece of sandpaper and clean it off. Alright, I call this magic because we're going to take this stump in here. And we're also going to do circular motions with some pressure. And it's going to smooth out our lead. I shouldn't call it lead. I guess it's graphite. I'm of the older generation that is so used to calling it a lead pencil, and it's not really lead, is it? And then as we come to the edge, bring it over into this other white part just a little bit. You can just bring that over like this is another pencil almost. And it will give us another layer or another tint of the black from our pencil. I guess I should say gray. We're actually working in a gray scale. And I am just fascinated about how this works. Now, here's a hint. When you get into working with pencil, it smears easy. It will get on your hands. So get a scrap piece of paper and put it under your hand here. You'll save yourself a lot of erasing because it will smear it onto your paper. And you'll keep your hands a lot cleaner. Okay. Lighten the pressure and then pull this gray up just a little bit. And then lighten the pressure even more and just barely pull that gray over for a highlight. And look at that. Isn't that amazing what that did and how that smoothed that out? Now, it's your choice how much you want this highlight to show. And then I want to come in with my pencil and darken these lines up so it shows up better now against this gray. And we need to do this to every one of these sections. So you do need to have a little time to do it well and a little patience. But one thing is, this isn't like paint that you need to do some things in before it dries. Take your time, take some breaks, especially when you're using this. If you have arthritis, you'll have to think about whether you can do this with the pressure that this takes, or take a lot of breaks while you do it. So I'm going to go ahead now and do the same thing to these segments, and I will be back with you in a few minutes. Well, a few seconds. Okay, I have finished going around with my dark shadow color, every segment. Now, notice how I kind of curved these. You want these to be kind of curved like beans. And then the bottom part has a little more shadow on it. The next step is to go over this edge lightly with a lighter touch. So you'll have a lighter gray around each one of these sections. So we will finish that out and be back with you. Alright, I have finished putting the softening lines in. I saw no need to add to these backwards. That's such a tiny spot that our blending stump will take care of that. And I also want to darken up some of these section lines here. And we have one up here. And these are behind the stem. Alright, and then back to magic. Let's get our blending stump and do the same thing to every one of these that we did to this one. Blend in that dark shadow color as smoothly as you can. And then bring that gray softly into the center. Just a little less pressure. And work in circular motions. Now for the lighter grays in the center for our highlight. And there is another segment done. Now I'm going to finish the rest of my segments and be back with you. See how it's looking like a pumpkin already? Okay, I have finished blending in, and I really think I might have blended in too much right there. What you can do, go back with the eraser and just lightly rub it over the top. And I'll smudge it back around the edges a little bit. There we go. Okay. Next we need to do our leaves. And we do them the exact same way. We're going to do a darker shadow color right around the edges and maybe up along the veins. And then we will smudge it in with our blending stick. So we'll start right here and just do your shadow color around these edges. Remember, small circular strokes all the way around. And if you need to shift your paper while you're drawing, that is fine. It makes it easier for you to do good lines and good strokes. Okay, I've done my shadow strokes. Now I want to do the blending strokes between my shadow and the lighter areas of my leaf. And I'm not sure on camera if it shows up how much lighter these are, but in real life you can see that when you do it. If you're using your yellow pencil yet, you won't get quite as much contrast. You can't get as dark with those pencils. Any pencil that has an H in it, think of the H as meaning hard. It's a hard lead, which is just what you want in some instances. So that's why pencil artists usually have several different types of pencils to use for different things in their art. And if you can get a hold of some of these pencils with a B on it, you'll be glad. They really help out a lot. Now I'm going to finish going around these with my blending edges. Alright, now it's time for the magic again. Time to get our blending stumps. And here we go. And blending it right towards the center. Now you will want to come into this leaf and strengthen your lines. It may have smudged a little bit and gotten lighter. Just come in like that. Strengthen those vein lines. And then I'm going to strengthen around here. And I'm going to do this one. Now, again, I think I'd like to have this very center a little bit lighter. So I'm going to come in here with my eraser and lighten that up a little bit. I don't want to smudge it, so I will do it with my brush. There we go. All right, you know, we are almost done with our pumpkin. We need to do the stem and the vines and then put a shadow behind it. Now, let's think about this stem. Kind of from above, from me to my pumpkin. We're going to think maybe the light's, I have a miner's light on the top of my head, and it's pointing towards the pumpkin. So this will be light, and this would be dark. And that's why we also have highlights on the near edges of our pumpkin and on our leaves, because it's coming from me to it. So this little area right here would be very dark and in shadow. So let's fill that in. Get those little circles going here. On little spots, sometimes you do just have to do lines. It's what fits in there. There we go. And then I want to darken my little texture lines that's in the front of my stem. There we go. I'm going to get my stump, smooth this out a little bit, and then I'm going to bring over, even though I didn't put a lot of graphite here. My stump has plenty on it, and I'm just going to lightly color it gray from the remains of my other graphite. I'm going to leave this very light because that is facing upwards. There, now we just need to do our stems. And this stem, I think I'm going to make it very dark. So I'm going to come in here and darken that up as much as I can. It will depend on your pencil again, how dark you can get that. If you had a charcoal pencil, you could make it really dark. There we go. And you might want to darken up where your vines came over here. And as you come up over these to darken, don't worry if you make the vine fatter. Because it's alright, there will be some substance to this vine. So you can kind of add width to it if you want. Okay, and if when you're doing your vine, you find that you went over your line too much, that's great. Make that vine thicker in some places, and it will look better. See how it was thicker here? I'm thicker here. Vary the thickness of those lines if you'd like, because it doesn't hurt, and it actually helps. Right there, I'm going to thicken that up a little bit. Now we need to do our shadow. And really basically all this shadow is as dark as we can get underneath here. So this is where it will really help if you have an H pencil. And the darkest is right next to the pumpkin. And if you notice, the shadows can get lighter as they come out. So I'm really putting the pressure on here right next to my pumpkin. To get it as dark as I possibly can. Alright, then we can just go right ahead with our little circular motions and fill in the rest of this shadow area. Alrighty, finishing up that shadow. Now your next step is to just check out your picture, see if there's any lines that need to be darkened, see if there's any lines that might need to be erased, clean up around the edges if it's needed, and then sign it and date it, and you have done your pumpkin. Should we call it a pumpkin portrait? I'm going to sign it right here. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed this pumpkin. And I hope you come back for part 3. I think we may do an inked version of the pumpkin next. So I will see you then. And bye-bye for now.